They say that love without action is irrelevant, and action without love is meaningless. But when you have love in action and love for the greater good, then things can happen. The success, if it costs so much and you end up having a heart attack, and then what's the point? This is the biggest question that humans or everybody should be asking.
Top 10, I got a top 10. Got my motivation high for my top 10. Gotta learn from the wise women and men. All my life, like 9 and 9. For my top 10, top 10, 9 and 9. This one's for my top 10.
Need motivation?
Watch the Top 10 with Believe Nation.
Hey, it's Carmichael, and this channel was created to help you overcome the #1 challenge that is holding you back, a lack of belief in yourself. You watch these videos because you know there's something more inside you too. You have Michael Jordan level talent at something. So get ready to discover who you are, improve your lifestyle, and choose how you age with Deepak Chopra and my take on his top 10 rules of success to give you the confidence, motivation, and belief that you need. Enjoy. Okay, let's kick it off with rule #1. Discover who you are.
But when you realize that all your name, your form, and everything you see is provisional, two things happen. To some people, they have immediate, what we could only metaphorically call the dark night of the soul. They go into a deep depression because everything they thought was real is no longer real, including their own name, form, body, and mind. Some people get so scared that they have a bad trip. Some people cross that threshold and discover nirvana or enlightenment. And they say, wow, I thought I was squeezed into the volume of a body in the span of a lifetime, but I'm a timeless being that can morph myself into any experience, including the human experience, which is amazing. But the human experience is also that which causes existential depression. So the causes of human suffering, since you brought it up, are brought up in Eastern wisdom traditions as, #1, you suffer because you don't know who you are. You confuse yourself with your body-mind experience. #2, you grasp and cling at experiences which are evanescent and transitory and dreamlike. You say, what happened to your childhood? It's over. What happened to yesterday? It's over. What happened to 5 minutes ago? It's over. What happens to these words? By the time you hear them, they don't exist. So, Wittgenstein, the German philosopher, said, we are asleep. Our life is a dream, but once in a while we wake up enough to know that we are dreaming. So what do you wake up to? When you cross this threshold, you wake up to your true self, which is not body or mind, but the awareness in which that experience is happening. So grasping and clinging at a dream is the second cause of human suffering. The third is being afraid of anything that's unpleasant, pain, abandonment, being treated by someone not respectfully. So that's, there's aversion to certain experiences. Third cause of suffering. Fourth is identifying, which is related to it, with your ego identity. And fifth is the fear of death. Now, they're all connected. They're all the same fear. And they are not knowing who you are. This is the biggest question that humans, or everybody should be asking. Who am I? What am I? Am I the changing experience of this body, which is a perceptual activity? Am I the experience of the changing mind or the changing personality? Because you don't have the same personality when you were a kid or maybe even 10 years ago. What is it at the basis of this? When you start that reflective self-inquiry, ask yourself, who am I? What do I want? What is my purpose? What am I grateful for? Go into the stillness of meditation, you have what wisdom traditions have called revelation, revealed truth. Now, that sounds very grand. I would say just call it insight. Meditation, mindfulness, awareness of body, awareness of mind, awareness of mental space, awareness of the web of relationship, awareness with that which we call the universe. it leads you ultimately to the awareness of awareness. And when you discover that, that's nirvana.
Rule number 2, improve your lifestyle.
When you really look at the credit, it is improved nutrition and sanitation. So people were dying of malnutrition, which made them more susceptible to infections and other disorders. And then sanitation and vaccination. That's how it's not antibiotics. Let's say it's not pharmaceuticals. It's still conditions of living. Better hygiene, better nutrition. But now the increment to that is understanding what causes accelerated aging. Lack of sleep, stress, unhealthy emotions like hostility and anger and resentments and guilt and shame and depression and anxiety. Lack of mind-body coordination, that's where the yoga and the breathing techniques come in. Poor nutrition. Right now, most of our food that comes to us at home is manufactured, refined, processed, contains chemicals, contains antibiotics, contains steroids because animals are fed that, and even, there are pesticides in the ground which are petroleum products. How does that cause accelerated aging? It causes inflammation of something called the microbiome, which is the genes that are in your gut, which are microbial genes. So 99% of the genetic information in your body right now is not human. You only have 1% of the genes in your body are from your parents. 99% of the genes in your body right now are microbial. You're a few human cells.
I'm a mutant. I'm like an X-Man, is
Yeah,
what
you're
saying. I like that.
You're a few human cells hanging on to a bacterial colony. So when you put food in your mouth, the first thing that the food encounters is these bacterial genes. And if your food is inflamed, then the bacterial genes get inflamed, causes inflammation in the body, you get metabolites that are called cytokines. There's lots of complexity between the human genome, the microbiome, and lifestyle. But knowing this, we can extend our age.
Rule number 3, understand the power of action.
We have to actually see why we failed in the past. And that is because idealism without action is useless. They say that love without action is irrelevant and action without love is meaningless. But when you have love in action and love for the greater good, then things can happen. You have to have experienced love in order to create love. And then you bring into action. It starts with empathy, which is feeling what others are feeling. Compassion, which is the desire to alleviate suffering. And if you have that, then that is the basis of all love. But then love has to move into action as well.
Rule number 4, know the source of knowing.
I decided that I wanted to not know what we know, but what is the source of knowing. Okay, it's not what you know. What you know these days, you can look it up, go Google it. So it's not important what you know. Anybody can find out anything about anything these days. I can look up how many galaxies there are in the universe, or how does epigenetics work, or how does the brain function. That's not the key to creativity. The key to creativity and higher consciousness is, how do you know what you know? What is the source of knowing and experience? What is it that knows the experience of the body? What is it that knows the experience of the mind? What is it that knows the experience called the color red? And where is that experience happening?
Also, if you want to have more confidence, check out my 254 series. They're free. The links to join are in the description below.
If you're going to speak effectively, you have to know way more than you're talking about.
So I started to study myself. I found most people don't know who they are. They really don't.
Doesn't matter how talented you are, if you don't have self-belief, you're not going to get anywhere.
Rule number 5, choose how to age.
How you age is a choice. So, I'm 71 and a half right now, but biologically, I feel like I'm 35 or less.
You feel 35 or less?
Less, and I have the mental and physical capacity of somebody like that.
Be a little more specific. What do you mean you feel like you're 35 or less?
If you measure my blood pressure, my heart rate, my immune system, my hormone levels, my biological age would be much less than my chronological age. So, when you look at aging, there's biological age, which you can measure through cholesterol, HDL ratios, blood pressure, immune function, hormones, fat content, skin thickness, bone density, aerobic capacity, sugar metabolism. These are the ways you measure biological age. Then there's chronological age, the date you were born. That's your chronological age. My chronological age is 71 plus. But biologically, I'm not there yet. Okay, and then there's psychological age, which means how do you feel? How do you feel young? Do you feel old, etc.? So aging is a very complex phenomenon, and in humans, it's not something that's so fixed. In the last century, for example, only 100 years ago, the average lifespan of a human being in this country was 49 years. Okay.
100 years ago, so 1918.
Yeah, about.
Okay.
The average. I'm
Right.
talking about the average.
I'm with you.
Of course, there are always people who live long. Today, the fastest growing segment of the American population is over the age of 90 and close to 100. That means the rate of growth of the population, the average rate of growth, is much bigger. As I said, the fastest growing segment of the American population is over the age of 90 as a proportion.
Which means a kid born today is probably going to live to 120 years old. Let's just say that's not
all,
90 years
well,
old.
People are predicting
Right.
that, yes.
Rule number 6, go past your ego.
When you go past your ego identity, there's a bigger identity that is so huge, it's incomprehensible. It can't even be described. And there's a freedom and a joy that comes from that. And I had glimpses of that, but this period of intense stillness. And by the way, since then, I've kept a week of silence every year. Sometimes I do more. And that week of silence, usually in September, I do every year, just to go back to the taste of timeless being instead of, our ego identity, which we keep polishing every day now, especially these days with social media and books and promotions and you name it.
Rule number 7, understand your reality.
Reality is one wholeness. It includes all subjects, all objects, and all modes of knowing. What we have access to is a human mode of knowing. In my book, Metahuman, I talk about the butterfly, the painted lady, who smells the world through her antenna. Okay, tastes the world through her feet, sees the world with 30,000 lenses that move like a kaleidoscope. Okay, hears the world through her wings. What is reality to that little species? Some insects see the world 360 degrees. Okay, because they have these what we call complex eyes with multiple lenses. You can only see within a certain range, but there are insects that can see 360 degrees. So what is reality? Reality, what we call reality, what today's science calls reality, comes under the heading of naive realism. Einstein was a naive realist. And I'm not saying this in a derogatory fashion. It's a word in the science of philosophy. Naive realism means that the physical world exists exactly as perceived by the 5 human senses. Now, obviously, that's not true. Other species experience the world through different modes of sensory perception. The second aspect of naive realism is that the physical world, as perceived by the 5 human senses, would exist even if no one was observing it. Well, how do you prove that? And firstly, it's naive because we know that the world is more than what is perceived by the 5 human senses. So this leads us to a solution, actually, of the hard problem of consciousness, which is get rid of the idea that the world is physical. What we call of the world as physical, even your physical body, is a perceptual activity. And that perceptual activity for you and me is a human perceptual activity through human consciousness, not through bat consciousness, not through mosquito consciousness, not through plant consciousness, which would fit in with panpsychism. But non-dualism says, go beyond that. There is only one consciousness that is differentiating, undifferentiated consciousness, differentiating into these different species of consciousness that form a matrix of conscious beings that are collectively projecting this universe.
Rule number 8, cut out drama.
I think there's a better way to achieve success. The success, if it costs so much and you end up having a heart attack, and then what's the point? Or you get sick, what's the point? Or you age prematurely, or you die, what's the point? In my view, success should come effortlessly. It has come effortlessly to me. When you know what your purpose in life is, when you know what you want, when you have goals that are worthy. So I define success as the progressive realization of worthy goals combined with the ability to love, have compassion, but most importantly, to not be overshadowed by the melodrama that's around you. There's too much melodrama, whether it's fake news or real news, it's all melodrama. The more drama there is, the better it sells.
Rule number 9, do yoga.
Even the genetic mistakes that are associated with disease depends on how you live your life. And very simple things like sleep, meditation and stress management, movement, yoga and pranayam. Now, yoga and pranayam goes way beyond exercise, because with yoga and pranayam, there's a particular nerve in the body called the vagus nerve. It's the 10th nerve. And the word vagus is a Latin word, but it's related to the English word vagabond. So this nerve comes from the midbrain. It influences your facial expressions. So you can now do micro expressions and see if a person is happy or not. It influences the eye movements. It influences the tone of your voice. Are you threatened? Are you stressed? Are you friendly? Are you happy? It influences your heart rate activity. Then it pierces the diaphragm, and it influences the activity of every other branch of the vagus nerve that goes to all the organs in the body. So when I discovered this through yoga teachers and masters, I realized that the yogasanas, we say yoga asana, and people usually translate that into as postures. But actually the word asana means seat, as you know, seat of awareness, seat of consciousness. So each yogasana is a particular seat of consciousness that stimulates a particular nerve that is going to an organ in your body. And the only reason for that nerve is self-regulation or healing or homeostasis. So when I discovered that, I became fanatic about yoga. I haven't missed yoga now for as long as I can remember.
That's
not
amazing.
One day.
Wow.
Okay, not one day of yoga or meditation or pranayam.
And rule number 10, the last one before a very special bonus clip, is ask yourself questions.
To know yourself, you must first inquire into what you are not. Ask yourself, am I the changing body that I only know as an intermittent stream of sensations and perceptions? Am I the changing mind that I only know as fluctuating thoughts and emotions? Am I the evolving personality that moves into expanded states of consciousness over time? Or am I the formless being that knows itself in these shifting modes of knowing and experience that I call mind, body, and universe? Ask and you will receive the answer.
Now I've got a very special bonus clip from Deepak on how to accept yourself that I think you're going to enjoy. But before that, it's time for the 3-point landing questions. Let's go from just watching a video to taking action. Here we go. Question number 1. What's an important question that you need to ask yourself? Number 2, where do you need to cut out the drama? And number 3, What lifestyle improvement can you make this week? And if you made it this far in a video and you commit that you're gonna take action, we don't just watch videos here, we do something, give me a hashtag believe down in the comments below, because I want to celebrate you.
Because our personality is derived from our conditioned mind, which in turn is a modified form of infinite possibilities. But because of that, our personality is full of contradictions, paradox, and ambiguity. In the wisdom of uncertainty and the proliferation of uncertainty is the cauldron or crucible of creativity. Nietzsche famously said, "You must have chaos within you to give birth to a dancing star." So be comfortable with your contradictions and accept yourself as you are, as you accept others in the same way. This is the key to creativity.
If you want to see a top 10 I did on Jordan Peterson, the link is right there next to me. I think you'll enjoy it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
And that's not good because you have plenty of negative emotion. Before you can be a painter who can paint what's beyond mere memory,